Well, welcome to the Game Week 21 Deadline live stream. I feel like I'd done a millennial pause there, waiting for my stream to catch up. So if you just saw me looking like this, then I probably have done so. So hope everybody is doing well. Of course, it's a Tuesday in the UK. It could be another day wherever you are in the world right now. But we are here to try and answer all of your questions. Now, I am here in a bit of a zen mood, I'm going to be honest with you, because in my last few streams, over Christmas, it's been panic. I'm going to be honest. It has been absolutely hectic just because of work, because of FPL, because of Christmas. And this is the first stream in probably a long time where my team's locked in. I can show you my team, maybe a few plans in the future, and more importantly, take time to answer all of your questions, because I can't lie, I've had to be a bit selfish over the last few live streams because I've been picking my team in the very moment of the live stream. So this is a very chilled Nacho today, and hopefully it is going to be the best live stream we've had in a little while, and no mental breakdown. So guys, get your questions in the chat. We have got just under an hour until the deadline. Apologies, I've got the hiccups as well, which is inevitably going to continue throughout the whole thing. I might have to hold my breath in a minute, but please do drop any questions in the chat. And as always, if you are enjoying the stream, and it's only been about 2 minutes, it would be awesome if you could drop a like as well. Always massively appreciated. So let's go see who's in the chat right now. Ollie, as always, mate, I saw your wildcard draft. I will check them out in a minute, buddy, for sure. Frey saying bench Ekitike, Wirtz or Szoboszlai. Well, I think based on the information that we're seeing right now, with Ekitike being a real doubt, I would be astonished if we're in a situation right now where Ekitike is a doubt, he suddenly plays, and he plays more than 75 minutes. So for that reason, with guaranteed minutes with Wirtz and Szoboszlai, I would bench Ekitike in that scenario 100%. Warmax is saying, should I pick Foden or Cherky? Is that in terms of a wild card? Is that in terms of starting? Let me know, mate, on that one. Bruno's available for selection. Is that the case? Let me check it out right now and see. If it is, thank you so much for updating everybody in the chat. Let me just have a look for 2 seconds. I'm checking out on Fantasy Football Scout, by the way, for anybody that is interested in kind of where I get my up-to-date stuff on press conferences. So, the news regarding Man United is that... give me 2 seconds. Okay, maybe they haven't put it up, which is not a good advert right now for this. But if Bruno Fernandes is available, I do think we have to ask the question, is this really the week to buy him? Because Burnley is fantastic, but after that, the fixtures are not ideal. So it is something that we need to consider. But ask ourselves, is this really the entry point to bring him in? That is what we got to say to ourselves. We got a super chat here from Sam Allstop 9300. Thank you so much, mate, for that. Massively appreciated. So the question is, bench Lacroix, Wilson or Tavernier? Now, I'm going to assume that is Harry Wilson. So what we'll do firstly, just to remind everybody, let's just get the fixtures up right now, just for a bit of context on the scenario. So a reminder, we have got Lacroix in his fixture at home against Aston Villa, one of the most informed teams in the league right now. So it's not ideal. Then we got Wilson, again, in decent form at home against a Chelsea team who are still in kind of interim manager until Rossinia comes in for game week 22. So again, that seems like a fixture where Wilson could do okay. And then we got Tavernier with his home game against Spurs. If I was benching one right now, I do think Lacroix is one of those players that could absolutely pick up some DEFCON, but I wouldn't expect him to get a clean sheet. So I think personally, I would probably lean towards maybe benching Tavernier. I know that they have lost a few players in the likes of Kluivert in that front line, so I think they might be a little bit hampered going forward. I think Tavernier is a good enabler going forward, but I think I prefer Wilson, a few more avenues to points. And I think Lacroix is probably has a higher floor of 4 points as opposed to Tavernier's 2 or maybe 4 if he does hit DEFCON. So I probably would lean towards Tavernier, but I appreciate you might want to bench Lacroix. I wouldn't bench Wilson regardless in that scenario. And just a spoiler, let's put up the team right now just to show you where I am locked in, just so we can get this out of the way and then we can go through all the rest of the chat. So I am rolling my transfer. I have been screaming out to roll my transfer for weeks now. It has just been a bit of a rotten period for my team where Ekitike just kind of taken up way too much of the budget. So going into this week, with the doubts of Ekitike, I could easily sell him to Thiago, Mane, Watkins. But I spoke about this in my previous videos. I like Watkins, and let me put up the graphic here. I really like Watkins. The problem is, once again, you're allocating so much money to that forward position. And if you buy Watkins, you're keeping him for 6 game weeks. The problem with that is that Bruno Fernandes will be back. Cole Palmer's going to be an option. These sort of players are going to get blocked from you possibly having Watkins. Thiago I like. However, do I love him enough to make a transfer? No, I'm going to let him slide. And Mane, for me, if you take a look at my personal team, I'll then be stuck with Haaland, Mark Gui and Mane. I don't like that structure as of right now. So for that reason, I think the team kind of picks itself. Double Arsenal with Raya and Gabriel. O'Reilly, I'm not expecting a clean sheet with all the injuries that Man City do have, but he has guaranteed game time. Dorgu, I'm slightly concerned whether he actually plays or not, because we don't really know what formation is going to get played. We don't know whether Dorgu is part of that starting 11. I would like to think, just because of the injuries that Man United have and AFCON, that he does start. And Anderson's going to come in just for those defensive contribution points. Midfield 5 with Lafille, Cunha, Bruno Guimaraes, Foden and Saka, with Haaland up top. And again, for me, no deliberation in terms of the captaincy. It kind of picks itself. I never look at Brighton and think that they are watertight defensively. And Man City really do have to get a result on the board against Brighton. And I just don't have enough trust in the other players, more so than that of Haaland. And I know he's blanked over the last few, but for me, he is still the captain on that one. So I just wanted to get that out of the way nice and early, and now I can go back into the chat and answer all of your lovely, lovely questions. So, so I just coughed into the mic there, which was terrible. Edvin is saying, hi mate, best sub 6 million defender already have Tarkowski. Well, again, for the context of people that are watching this on the screen right now, let's just get at the defenders just to show you what is available at those particular price points. So if we're looking at a defender that is 6 million or less, we can put that up on here. So really, we want to try and get a player that is also going to pick up defensive contributions. So if we scroll down the list right now, who are the names that actually catch our fancy? Well, I am going quite far down this list. Now, Hall is one that I do like. Leeds coming up and Wolves. I think he is a good option. Came off slightly early, but it does sound like he is going to be available for game week 21. So I'm not against going for Hall. Alongside that, someone like a Chow, obviously picking up that big return. I think Chow would be my preference over Lewis Hall. And not just because he got that goal, of course, in game week 20. I think in general, he is a good pick. He, in terms of DEFCON, is averaging 10.11 per 90, so he's fantastic for that. And as we know, he's got 3 goals already this season. So I think Malik Chow probably ticks all of the boxes to go to, knowing that they do have good long-term fixtures as well. So I probably would lean towards Chow, and it frees up 1 million as well for your particular team at that price point. Should I sell Gahey and who for? I have Gabriel, Timber and Anderson with 2 free transfers and 0.2 million in the bank. Well, I think you could play Gahey this week. I think he obviously starts. I know there are some rumours about Man City, but until that actually happens, I think you could start him once again. I don't think there is a desperate need to sell Mark Gahey. If you are selling him, like I said, I don't mind Malik Chow as a pick for those long-term fixtures. Who's the best captain? For me, it is still going to be Erling Haaland this week, but I appreciate that he has had a couple of blanks here. So I'm just putting someone on timeout right now because boy, oh boy, is there a lot of messages. And it's a Tuesday. We can't be having that right now, unfortunately. It is far too early in the week for that. So Zed Magoa saying, should I sell Dewsbury Hall or will he be back soon? Well, it doesn't sound promising regarding Dewsbury Hall. I think he's a good enabler, but you're going to keep sitting on him each and every week. Now, again, if you have a good enough team this week, I probably would just keep Dewsbury Hall on your bench, give yourself another opportunity to roll the transfer. But if you are desperately needing that Dewsbury Hall pick, then yes, maybe selling him is the best route. But the options available are not fantastic. And I think the way the template is going to go is a lot of us are going to go towards a more premium midfield. So, for example, let me just show you, as of right now, almost a prediction. I'm going to see into the future right now to kind of give you a guess of what the team might look like in the future. So I don't think O'Reilly's going to be the guy. I don't think Dorgu will be the guy. I think someone like an Alderete or Mukiele continues to be good. But what I want to show you here is what I kind of think the teams are going to look like eventually. Let's leave Bruno G in there for a minute until we've populated the rest of the team. So Bruno Fernandes is just going to be back in everyone's teams ASAP. Declan Rice, of course, is a big pick as well. And I think Enzo is going to be the mid-price midfielder that a lot of us are going to own. And if we do see something from Cole Palmer, then of course that does make him a great pick. But what I'm trying to say is this. I think we're going to get in a position where teams are going to start looking something like this. It's going to have Gabriel, it's going to have Rice, it's going to have Enzo, Bruno Fernandes, maybe a Bruno Guimaraes as an example, Haaland. I think Mane probably comes in as the cheap enabler, and maybe even Krupi Jr. as an option. But what I think is available to us right now is quite an exciting team if we take the money out of the midfield and out of the forward and we put it in the midfield. So if we were able to afford another forward here, let's say a Thiago, can we stretch that far? Yes. And we could still have a 6.3 million defender. Let's say if you had better team value than me, that could be Timber. So look at this team right now. Sanchez for those great long-term fixtures. And again, for anybody tuning in right now, this isn't a wild card right now, but this is a bit of a prediction on what the teams might look like in the future. Brilliant long-term fixtures, Sanchez. Apologies, you can't see him on the screen, but basically it's Brentford, Palace, West Ham and Wolves. Great fixtures. Double Arsenal defence for the long term alongside some DEFCON monsters like Richards, Anderson and Mukiele. Then you look at something like this midfield. Bruno Fernandes, Rice, Enzo, Bruno Guimaraes and Cole Palmer. And like I said, that could change that Palmer position. And then the front line of Thiago, Haaland and Mane. I do quite like that team, I'm going to be honest, but I think it's a week or two early before moving towards a team like this. But that's an example of what I think the teams are going to start to kind of template towards as we progress throughout the weeks. Play Raya or Dubravka? Yeah, this is a really tough one right now. I just feel like the fact that Amarim's gone is almost the worst scenario for those that own Dubravka. I would probably play Raya and back Arsenal just to beat Liverpool quite comfortably. What I saw from Liverpool against Fulham, Liverpool ain't back at all. If anything, they are continuing to be very mediocre each and every week. I see we've got a super chat here from Scott. As always, my friend. Hope you're doing well, buddy. Really do appreciate that. So, hi Nacho. I have 2.9 million and one free transfer. Do I go Richards, Van der Ven? So, Richards, Van der Ven to Timber, or do I upgrade Semenyo to Bruno Palmer, or do I roll it? Also have Wilson and Enzo. So, you've got Enzo already, which is really promising. I don't love the idea of going so early on Bruno Fernandes and Palmer. Now, of course, if there ever was a time to buy Bruno Fernandes, it is this week with the entry point of Burnley. But if I just get up the fixtures here, as you can see with Man United, they are right around middle table, I believe. Man United, where art thou? Here. So you bring him in for that game, but then they've got City and Arsenal. I think Bruno Fernandes can wait until game week 24, but that doesn't mean he can't deliver a double-digit haul in game week 21 and kind of just outscore what you need him to do over the next two after that. So in terms of your situation right now, Van der Ven is a playable player if you need him this week. If you look at Spurs away against Bournemouth, it's not great, but you can play Van der Ven 100%. Timber is a nice option. Is that then your third pick? And you let me know, Scott, in the chat. Obviously, don't super chat. Are you in a position where if you buy Timber, that would be your third Arsenal? And if that is the case, who are your three Arsenal picks if you were to have Timber as well? Just need a bit more context because I wouldn't recommend Timber if it then blocked you of getting somebody like a Declan Rice. I see we got a chat here from hello there. Lots of spamming though. Please do kind of avoid the spamming. It's just pretty rubbish for those that are in the chat as well. So, hi Natural, do I start Mateus Nunes or Enzo Fernandes this week? Okay, so look, Enzo Fernandes is obviously the high upside pick, but Mateus Nunes, with the injuries that Man City have defensively, does slightly put me off. So for that reason, I think I would be going for Enzo Fernandes in your team. I think Mateus Nunes is good. He does offer some threat going forward, but I would be quite tempted to go Enzo Fernandes in that particular scenario. And again, guys, if you are enjoying the stream, please do consider dropping a like on it. Always massively appreciated. Oh, Ollie, okay, so you're asking about your wildcard. So are you, Ollie, can you just let me know in the chat, are you actually activating your wildcard? Because I don't really know if I love activating a wildcard this week. It's a little bit early, I personally think, to do so. I think the template is gonna merge, but it's a bit early for it to do so. Scott, you're saying, I'm playing Van der Ven. Timber is my third Arsenal. The picks are Gabriel and Saka so far. I can do Wilson to Rice instead. Okay, so look, this is the thing right now. You're in a position where you own Gabriel. That's fantastic. And if you were to sell Richards, he's back on the bench for Palace. And if we look at the fixtures coming up for Richards, look, if Gahey goes, then of course that is not ideal at all. But in terms of Richards' fixtures coming up, you can't see them on the screen, but if you take a look at them, they're second best over the next, is that 10 game weeks? 2, 4, 6, 8 game weeks. So all of a sudden, Richards becomes a really nice pick. You can play him in the Wolves game, the Everton game, the West Ham game, the Sunderland game. So I don't love the idea of parting ways with Richards when you've held him this long and all of a sudden he's available. And the reason why I don't love the Timber pick is because you are then, of course, blocking yourself of getting Declan Rice in your team. So I can go Wilson to Rice instead, but would I be selling Wilson this week? Probably not either against a Chelsea team who are obviously under new management, but the manager isn't really there right now. So, Scott, one more question, mate. I do apologise. Can you just let me know your starting 11 and your bench, just so I can get a bit of context on the players that you do own, and then hopefully we can sort it out. Sell Van Dijk and Raya to Gabriel and Roos. Have 2 free transfers or roll. Have Ekitike 2. Well, Van Dijk is not a good pick this week. Gabriel is fantastic and his price is going to continue to go up. Is it a good use of your transfers? I don't really know because I don't know the rest of your team. But do I prefer Gabriel Roos or Van Dijk Raya? I prefer Gabriel Roos long term. So yeah, I don't mind the moves. Why Ekitike on the bench? The main reason why Ekitike was on the bench, and this is a really difficult one, is because is there a scenario where Ekitike starts, plays 60 minutes and comes off? Absolutely. And also, is there a world where he's on the bench and he comes on? Possibly. Sometimes when I start a player with the thought process of he could either start or not start, against my double defence, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So if Arsenal's defence gets wiped out, Ekitike probably is one of those players that will do it, but it doesn't really help my team out at all. Now, the person that would end up on my bench is going to be Joachim Andersen, who, regardless of what Chelsea do, I anticipate Andersen to walk away with minimum 3 points, 2 defensive contribution points, 2 for appearances, and then worst case concedes 2 goals and gets a -1. So 3 points for Andersen. I think I'll just kick myself if I start Ekitike, he starts for Liverpool, and then kind of just gets hooked off at 55 minutes because he isn't actually fit. We just have too much uncertainty right now with Ekitike. So for that reason, I'd rather go for the guaranteed minutes of Andersen and just be done with Ekitike for this week. Keep him for the Burnley game in game week 22 and then reassess afterwards. And I'll show you some long-term plans in a minute on why I want to roll my transfer in particular this week. Any update on Bruno Fernandes? It sounds like he could be available in the squad, but we don't know the minutes, really. If it ever was a player to be gone for a couple of weeks and come straight back in and play 90 minutes, it is going to be Bruno Fernandes, isn't it, really? Cunha or Bruno? Well, if I was buying one right now, it would be Bruno Fernandes. But for this particular week, I think Cunha is as good because he's got guaranteed minutes. He's going to play the full 90 minutes. We're all kind of playing a guessing game right now, whether Bruno is going to start this game. But look, if he's available, and we know that Amorim, before he got sacked, was saying that Bruno's been knocking on his door saying, play me, play me, play me. I think whoever has now taken charge, I think it's Michael Carrick for a bit possibly, or whoever, then I really do think we're in a position right now where he absolutely will start if that is the case. Blow to saying big fan of FPL fan. Thanks so much, mate, on that one. Bruno G or Gordon. So I think it's still Bruno Guimaraes. I think Gordon is the better pick, but it's just so difficult to predict those minutes. It's kind of one of those where if he doesn't get any returns in the first 60 minutes, you know he's coming off around 65, 70, whereas Bruno is going to play the full game, and you know he just is a big game player at times. So yeah, for me, I think it's a scenario where, yeah, I think I'll go Bruno G. Ollie saying, not active yet, but I'm panicking with my team. 3 players missing out with injury this week. Mind if I send my team that I have in a moment to you? Yeah, so Ollie, can you just send it on WhatsApp? Can you just send your current team right now and I can check it out and see what it is? I apologise, I've been at work all day, so I haven't really, with this midweek deadline, had an opportunity to really address a lot of things. Thiago or Chalobah to start this week? I think if you own Thiago, I think you do have to start him. I think Chalobah's absolutely fine and he will hit DEFCON most likely, but I think if you own Thiago, you'll kick yourself if you don't start him. All it needs is a penalty and he's going to deliver, really. So guys, please keep putting your stuff in the chat. Obviously, I will try and get into them. I just want to quickly show you my long-term plans a little bit. I don't know exactly what my long-term plans are, but I just want to show you why I want to roll my transfer, because I spoke about at the start of the chat about how I think there's going to be a new template forming. So my team kind of looks like this, and then in game week 22 my team looks like this. We're assuming Richards is going to be available, so I can start him if we want to, but now we're getting into a run of fixtures where Chelsea suddenly become an option. I'm of the opinion I think we wait until Liam Rosenior has a couple of games and then we buy him in game week 24. But there's no harm in having a couple of transfers available for this particular game week. And for me, the main reason why I'm keeping Ekitike is simply the Burnley game. Is that a little bit narrow-minded because Ekitike might not be available for it? Yes. But we need to remember, game week 22 is on the 17th of January because we have the FA Cup week. Loads of time for Ekitike to be available, and we know Isak is not going to be available either. So very much is a case of keeping Ekitike simply for that game and that game alone. So all in all, I think the team looks fine for 22. But what's really important here is having the 2 transfers. If you don't have loads of money in the bank, you've got to have one or the other. I've got 0.1 in the bank and I've had 1 free transfer for so many weeks. So I've got to get myself in a position where I have 2 transfers because like I said, before we know it, we need a position where we need to buy Bruno Fernandes, we need to buy Enzo, we need to buy all these sorts of players. So for me, if we look at this particular week, I think I can absolutely roll this team out, if I'm going to be honest. So when I get to game week 23, once again, I ask myself, can I make transfers? The team starts to look a little bit more ropey, but I think we're going to be in a scenario in game week 24 where there are going to be some significant moves made. So take this as an example. Ekitike will be gone 100%. Let's say we drop him all the way down to somebody like a Thiago, as an example. If we were then to ship out Saka, and again, I don't love the idea of getting rid of Saka, but if it is to free up funds for the rest of the team, so be it. Then, of course, we bring in Declan Rice, we get rid of Bruno G, and we bring in someone like a Bruno Fernandes. And then we get rid of Phil Foden, who I do think is going to be making way eventually. And let's say we go for someone like a Cole Palmer. All of a sudden, the team does look like this, with a bit of money in the bank. So, if anything, actually, Mateta could be quite a tasty differential as well in the team. So, it looks something like this, as an example. And I just think getting to game week 24 with the opportunity of jumping on these types of players is really important. Will it happen? Who knows? Because honestly, I don't really have a clue who's going to get injured over this period, but it feels right to do so. Scott, firstly, thank you very much for sending another super chat, but you didn't have to, buddy, at all. Far too generous on that one, mate. Again, very, very generous, mate, on that one. I would have answered it otherwise. So I'm assuming you're doing that out of generosity, which, again, thank you so much. So your team right now is Kelleher in goal. And again, let's just remind everybody of the actual fixtures right now going into this week. So, apologies, I'm still struggling with illness right now. So, Kelleher in goal, absolutely fine with his game against Sunderland. Gabriel van der Ven, Keane, absolutely fine. Keane's available, so that's a great pick against Wolves. Enzo, Semenyo, Saka, Foden, Wilson with Thiago and Haaland up top. So again, that looks like a really strong team. I'll be very tempted to have Krupi Jr. first sub because of the injury to Kluivert. I think there is going to be a space for Krupi Jr. and we know that Semenyo, of course, is leaving. So they're going to have to start to play slightly different. They're going to have to play slightly different. And I think Krupi Jr. is far too good to be a player who only plays 5 minutes here and there. So I think with your team right now, when I look at it, I think it looks really, really good. Now, of course, you've got 2.9 million in the bank, which is a really powerful move. So Thiago, Haaland, keep that as your front two. Your back three right now is great. Richards, like I said, is going to become an option eventually. So the big one kind of standing out right now is going to be Semenyo. Now, what a power move that would be to go to Bruno Fernandes early doors. Do I love it? I love it for this week. I don't really like it beyond this particular week. So really, with the fixtures coming up, where else can you go? Well, firstly, I think you can play Semenyo against Spurs. I think it's absolutely fine. But when we run through the fixtures, like I said, you already have Enzo, which is a kind of ahead of the game already, which is a good position to be in. I don't love getting on Aston Villa against Crystal Palace personally. So the only other move that I would consider for your team would be going from Semenyo to Declan Rice and just getting him in as a placeholder for the foreseeable future. You've then got Gabriel, Rice and Saka, knowing that Saka is there for a bit of a pivot later down the line. I don't mind Semenyo to Rice. However, I am going to say this. I think you also can, mate, just roll your transfer once again. Having 2.9 million in the bank and 2 free transfers in game week 22 is going to be a really powerful position. So Semenyo to Rice as a long-term play, I do like that. Defensively, doing the move to Timber, I think is going to use a lot of your money up, and you might regret doing so because we need the money for the midfield. Let me know your thoughts, buddy, and please don't send another super chat because that's far, far too generous already, my friend. I would bench Ekitike over Virgil van Dijk because I'm going to be honest, I have no idea whether Ekitike is going to start or not. Ollie, I can see you just put your stuff in. And again, guys, for those that are wondering, Ollie's sending it over on Patreon's WhatsApp. If you're interested, go check it out. Patreon /FPL fan. You can get into the WhatsApp group. We just kind of chat when we can. I'm not as active as I want to be because I still balance family life and what's it called? Apologies. And full-time work. But obviously we're in a position right now where sorry, I'm just replying to this one in a minute, where we're trying to answer as much as we can. So guys, I'm just replying. So Ollie, in terms of your team right now, you've got Sanchez in goal, who of course is a doubt, but Dubravka coming in with the Man United game is not the worst case scenario. I wouldn't be looking at Sanchez as an issue in your team. In terms of your three, you've got Gabriel, Vandenberg and Senesi. Don't think that's terrible at all, I'm going to be honest. I think that Vandenberg is now available. Let me know if I got that wrong, mate. In terms of your midfield, you've got Saka, Cherki, Rodgers, Wirtz and Foden, with Haaland and Ekitike up top, and Van Heck as an alternative for the Man City game. And you said you've got how much money in the bank? How many transfers you got available, Ollie? Just let me know how many transfers you got available. Oh, Ollie joined through YouTube on that one. Oh, I see we've got a super chat here from FPL Trash Panda. What a name that is. Again, mate, very, very generous. I really do appreciate that, buddy. And we will try and help you out as best we can. So, Everton versus Wolves. I've got triple Everton defence. Wow. But I'm wondering if I should spread the risk. Defence. Gabriel, Tarkowski, Keane, Mateus Nunes and Alderete. And I'm assuming you've got Pickford between the sticks then. So, FPL Trash Panda, can you let me know if you're saying you should spread the risk for this week? If there ever was a time to have triple Everton, it's this week against Wolves. So I wouldn't be stressing about it. You went to triple Everton for a reason. I think that's absolutely fine. Alderete, do I anticipate him to be getting a clean sheet? No, but I think there is defensive contributions there for him. So let me know the rest of your team, mate, on that one. In terms of help, please, I'm not too sure what you mean in terms of the help, please section, because if you own triple Everton, this is the week where you should be licking your lips right now thinking, I've got the Wolves game. This is the fixture I really wanted. So let me know on that one, mate. Again, massively appreciate that one in terms of the super chat. Ollie, Vandenberg has been fit for a while now and has been on the bench. Okay, so if you're saying that right now and there is a worry that Vandenberg does not start, then we have to assume that Van Heck will come in as your auto sub in that scenario, and then you'll be down to Goodmanson and you've used your free transfer. For me, this just doesn't scream a wild card right now. I know you're in a tricky spot, but to sell people like Sanchez, Gabriel, Cherky, Foden, Rodgers, Saka, Haaland, it doesn't make sense to me of a wild card. So I would just grin and bear it this week. You know you've got Dubravka to replace Sanchez, happy days. If Vandenberg doesn't start, you got Van Heck, not great, but he might pick up defensive contributions. And then you've got Goodmanson to come in for Ekitike, once again, not great. But is that team worth the wild card? The only thing I could say to you is this, with 0.1 million available, if you needed to address some of the situations in this team, you could sell Ekitike to Thiago if you want to get him gone. But I think there is value in him the following week in game week 22. Roos or Dubravka, and for first sub, Gehi or Van der Ven. Now look, I think I probably would have Van der Ven first sub. In terms of Roos or Dubravka this week, Sunderland away against Brentford, I just feel like Man United with this could have a bit of a new manager bounce. I think what's going to happen is they just play 4-2-3-1 and they just actually kind of look okay. Do I think they look fantastic? No, but I think you probably do start Roos in that scenario. Rice or Rodgers, for me, it still would be Declan Rice, one of the best value defenders in the game right now. Defenders, best midfielders in the game. Ekitike to Thiago for a -4. The only way I like that is if your team is decimated and you just need a player. Then I don't mind it. But then once again, you've got to remind you that, of course, Ekitike has Burnley in game week 22. Ollie, I don't really know what week is worth it. My problem is, if you wildcard right now, I think you just got to go early on players. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that you shouldn't wildcard, because if you have it in your gut that you want a wildcard, I would get it done very quickly with 23 minutes until the deadline. But look, in terms of a wildcard, I think you just got to almost anticipate the future as opposed to anything else. So I would have in place, the team that I put up earlier, Gabriel, Rice, probably Bruno Gomes for now, just to cover the short term. Bruno Fernandes. I would have possibly Enzo in that team as well, and a placeholder for Palmer, if not have Palmer already, and a Thiago and Haaland front two, just to have some flexibility. I'm not against the wild card at all. I think if you really want to do it, mate, do it. Or I just roll the few transfers, then later adjust. Yeah, so this is for me. If I was in your situation, I can only speak on my perspective, I would just sit and grin and bear it. I don't think there's enough there to wildcard, but again, mate, it does come down to your own personal opinion. Do I think a wildcard will outscore your team right now? 100%, but is it necessary? I just don't know if that is the answer. Trash Panda saying, okay, so the full team is Pickford, Gabriel, Tarko, Keane, Nunes, Alderete. Absolutely fine. Foden, Cunha, Rice, Wilson, Bruno Gomes, delicious. Haaland, Bruno, Bowen, Ekitike. Absolutely fine. So currently you're starting a back four, you're starting a midfield five, and you've got you're looking at one up top. So in this scenario right now, with your midfielder Foden, Cunha, Rice, Wilson, Bruno Gomes, they all have to pick themselves. So I personally would go for I think if you own Bowen and you don't want to sell him, you have to start him this week. So the team that I would go for is going to be Pickford in goal, Gabriel, Tarkowski, Keane, Nunes, back four. We Can't play a 4-4-2, can we? Okay, I probably would then go for Gabriel, Tarkowski and Keane, and I would bench Nunes and Alderete. I would start all of your midfielders, and then I would play a front two of Haaland and Bowen. That is how I would play it right now. Do I think Matheus Nunes could do well? Yes. Do I prefer Gabriel? Yes. And if you're going Everton, I think you have to go for your double up and go all in. Don't think it makes sense benching them. Guys, we've got another 5 minutes until I've got to wrap it up. So just got to do 15 minutes on TikTok. So again, please do drop your questions in. I'm going to do a quick 5-minute Q&A speed round, quick as anything. And if you do enjoy this stream, it's always massively appreciated if you could drop a like, subscribe to the channel. I don't really know what we're trying to aim for now on the channel. I had 23k as kind of like an end of season goal. You guys have massively helped hitting that goal already, which is awesome. So look, if you're watching this right now, you're not a subscriber, you want to tune along, always massively appreciated. But I ain't going to sit here and say to you, you got to subscribe because otherwise I hate you. I watch so much YouTube and I don't subscribe to them. No hard feelings whatsoever, honestly. Goodness me, I need to get rid of this flu. Bloody hell. Right, let's go. So, do I start Xhaka or Ekitike? Ugh. Again, I can only speak from experience right now. As a Lafitte owner, I would start Xhaka over Ekitike. The only reason being is I just don't think Liverpool are that good right now, even if Ekitike does start. -4 to downgrade Saka to Rice, which allows me to free up funds to upgrade Minter to Rodgers and Bruno Gomes. The only way I'll consider that is if you don't make the move, you've got to start Minter because you have no other players. That's the only way I could justify that. And even then, I don't love it. I'm struggling picking him captain this week. Bruno G, who loves a goal against Leeds, Cunha unleashed, or Watkins against a tired Palace. Ooh. If I had to pick one, I probably would lean towards the fixture of Cunha against Burnley. Start Anderson, Van Dijk or Ekitike in order, please. I would start those. I think Liverpool lose once again. So I would probably go Anderson 1, Van Dijk 2, Ekitike 3. However, you could easily put Ekitike first if you're happy to run the risk of him starting. The reason why I'm slightly concerned is that we could see 55 minutes of him and then he comes off and he just does nothing. That's my one concern about Ekitike. Would you sell Wirtz to Bruno? In a heartbeat. However, this is the week to do it, but you've got to remind yourself there are some tricky fixtures coming up for Man United in the next 2, and we have no guarantees that Bruno Fernandes even starts in the one game that you want him this week. Start Fulham's Anderson or Ekitike. Again, I can only speak from experience here, and I am going for the route of starting Anderson over Ekitike. So that's kind of the reason why I'm doing that personally on that one. No worries, Trash Panda 2. And again, thank you so much for the super chat on that one, buddy. Really do appreciate it. Would you start Harry Wilson or Mukiele? I probably would start Harry Wilson myself. I think Chelsea is still a little bit right now, and we don't really know what's going to happen. Start Dorgu or Senesi. Would Dorgu get benched by new manager? Yeah, I think you have concerns. Then I think going for the guy who has guaranteed minutes, who hits DEFCON every game, is probably the route that I would go to as well. I just got to start Dorgu myself. Who would I start? DCL Alderete? I personally, who had Leeds got? I've completely gone blank. Ooh, Newcastle. I would start Alderete. I think he could hit DEFCON. Start Dorgu, or I've covered that one. Roos, Cash, Bruno G, or Raya, Gabriel, Brooks. I mean, anything that includes Gabriel is probably the route that I would go for right now. Would I sell Wirtz to Bruno G? I would be tempted by that move, yes. But again, I think Bruno G is more of a short term than anything else. I meant, would you start Wirtz? Would you sell Wirtz? Yeah, hopefully I've covered that one off, mate. Ollie, yeah, I went crazy. I wasn't obviously I was buzzing, but also I was like, O'Reilly's clean sheet. But then also I was like, really, let's be honest here, it's probably the route to go for. Thiago for Ekitike for -4. Only if you have nobody else in your team to go for. Right, guys, I apologise. I do have to wrap it up now. So that is how the team is looking. I apologise. I got to jump on TikTok for the last 15 minutes, but my team is locked in. Here is the team. Have a fantastic game week. Massive thank you to tuning into this stream. It's been a great one. And I will see you probably on Wednesday, covering off my transfer plans, and then a bit of a break because it is the FA Cup. So thanks so much, guys. Have a great one, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.